Yes, and so it did finish 2-0 as for Mauricio Pochettino. He told the waiting media that it is all about the process, not the results that matter.
The most important is the process. The most important is today winning or lose. It's about the process. It's about the player really believe in what we are doing, that they respect us, how we respect them. If we are capable to be in that relationship, for sure we are going to have the best player and players that maybe are not today, we will have the possibility to come. We are very open people, but I think it's time. It's about to give time, the process, and the process is going to go. They should.
Herculez Gomez joining us now from sunny Las Vegas ahead of the big fight. But we're here to talk soccer tonight, Herc. Yes, that is true. It's even sunnier now that Herc's there, all right. Herc, better performance from the US, even though it was a friendly?
Yes, better performance. Listen, Stevie, Ali, they've been there when you're losing games, when you're not playing well, when the press is on top of you, where there's pressure coming from everywhere. You just need to win. Winning cures all. Yes, there were wholesale changes done by Japan, 11 of them. It's a completely different lineup, but you can only play who's in front of you. And Mauricio Pochettino, the U.S. men's national team, weathered the storm early on and then really, front foot forward, took it to the Japanese team, and they played very well. There was a few changes in personnel, a few changes in the tactical formation. Given who they had in this camp, they moved to a three-man back line with wingbacks, which catered to a Freeman, which catered to a Max Arfston, who isolated himself 1v1 and showed we can do going forward, which catered to an Alejandro Sendejas, which catered in the second half to a Christian Pulisic running in transition at players, and a Florian Balogun, who showed how well he can link up to Christian Pulisic. All in all, for what this camp was, this game was a positive. But I keep hearing, trust the process, trust the process. Mauricio Pochettino is trying to convince us that he knows exactly what he's doing, that it's all part of his master plan, this grand scheme. Florian Balogun made this camp because Brian White was injured. Your goal scorer and one of your best players on the night was only part of this because somebody else was injured. You didn't have him contemplated as one of the 23. You've not had what I would say is the strongest team, optimal lineup, since you've been here. We're a year out from when they announced Mauricio Pochettino, and he's still trying things. He's still trying personnel. He's still trying tactics. I think for what they had this camp, the three center backs was a good idea. But that's one of the weakest positions in my eyes in the U.S. men's national team player pool. So if you're going to bank on three center backs going forward, I think you may be asking for a lot, especially with a Tim Ream that's nearing 40 years of age. There were some good performances last night, still very sloppy at the back, and they showed that could be vulnerable in transition against. But certainly for Mauricio Pochettino and what the U.S. men's national team has shown us, it's been their best performance.
Trust the process, Stevie. Subpar results that we saw before this were all part of the plan.
I mean, I was going to try and be positive. But then when he starts talking about it's the process and it's not about winning. If ever a team needed a win, regardless of the process, it was last night against Japan. I mean, that had to be the most important thing. Because winning, as Herc says, it blows away the cobwebs. It makes everybody feel better. It makes the fans and everybody involved with US soccer just feel better. And that's what they needed. They didn't need a process or anything else. They needed a win. And the fact that, particularly the second half, they were dominant, that's what you want to see. It just gives everybody watching something to grasp onto. And that's how I wanted to talk about this. And then he comes out with that. It's not about winning. When you've hardly won at all in the last goodness knows how long, you got to win. You got to win. Winning changes everybody's mentality.
You know how you can actually trust the process if you're a player within that group? Winning! Winning! It's by winning. Yeah. When you win, players buy into anything and everything that you're selling as a manager. If you're not winning, if things are not clear-cut, if there is doubt, if there are questions, the longer you go without winning, those doubts and those questions linger and linger and linger. I am going to be positive about the United States. This is, in my estimation, the first time since Pochettino took over this team in which I went, okay, I'm seeing something. They're showing me something. Maybe it had to do with the fact that on Football Americas on Monday night, I pleaded with Mauricio Pochettino. I asked him, you got to go to back three. With this group of players, you got to go with a back three. And he went to a back three. You got to give Christian Pulisic a free role. And he gave him a free role. Thank you. You're welcome, actually. You're welcome, Mauricio Pochettino. I'll resolve the issues. You go and execute them. Here's the thing. When you watch this team play yesterday, there are a couple of important moments and important things to highlight that need to happen in order for this team to be successful from here on out. Christian Pulisic has to have this role in which he can find spaces in behind the defensive midfield line and in front of the opposing back line where he can run at defenders, where he can get on the turn, on the half turn, and run at defenders. That's where he is at his best, and that's how the second goal comes about. That needs to happen. The reason I thought it was important to have a back three is because, yeah, it is a weak position, as Hercules just mentioned. There is a weak position for the United States, so you need cover. 2, it's not going to work. 3, you need cover. And that actually gives the freedom to the outside backs who are more interested in going in the attack anyways to be natural outlets. And it gives you width. And when it gives you width, that gives space in the midfield for Pulisic to be able to operate. These things seem to be very obvious to me, and whether we got there by accident or not, whether this was something that was planned or not, whether this was part of the process or not, we finally got to this structure with Mauricio Pochettino against Japan. And if you're going to trust the plan, if you're going to trust the process, winning goes a long way in gaining the trust on the players on the field.
So given that it would appear Mauricio Pochettino is a fan of Football Americas,
Thank you.
He will know that on Football Americas we have been talking for a long time about whether the USA will find their number 9. Have they done that now in Balogun, Herc?
Well, Ricardo Pepi has a lot of equity with this team. With Greg Berhalter, with B.J. Callahan, he was around in World Cup qualifying, saving the teams behind. He was around in the final, scoring goals. There's some equity there. But none of that equity matters to Mauricio Pochettino. And Florian Balogun may have gotten his opportunity because somebody else was injured, but he looked damn good coming off the bench in the first game, and he looked very good, especially linking up with the most important player this team has in Christian Pulisic. Because this team doesn't have the creativity in the midfield, because they're not going to be a heavy possession-based team, I feel, come next World Cup in the summer, you need a player, you need a 9 who has the ability to create something by himself, has the ability to run the channels, has the ability to link up, be an outlet when he needs to be. Florian Balogun provided all that. All the skills were on display. He showcased every single thing he had in that bag. I thought he was phenomenal on the night, given what he was asked to do. He can be more dangerous, he can be more clinical, but this is a player that has the ability, 1v1, has the ability to link up with Christian Pulisic and just sniffs out the plays. He's always in danger. It's always danger with Florian Balogun. I've made so many excuses and reasons why Josh Sargent should be on the field, but Josh Sargent's on the field for 60 minutes, and we could say he doesn't get service. Florian Balogun comes on, and you can say, well, the U.S. men's national threw caution to the wind, they were pushing numbers forward, but he creates something. He starts last night. There's more danger involved in his play. He's just more catered to play by himself, which is why I think this summer at the Gold Cup, you saw Patrick Agyemang. Because I think deep down, Mauricio Pochettino knows that the chances next summer are going to be limited, and you need a 9 who has that ability to stretch, to come in, be an outlet, absorb, and just be a handful for defenders. I think Florian Balogun can be that man.
Okay, Herc, we're going to let you enjoy Vegas, and we will speak to you again very soon. Are looking right now.
Wow.
1 through 6 have qualified. Bolivia get themselves into that playoff qualification spot. Hallie Moreno, this is how it all played out. Sadly, it is not to be. Venezuela will not be going to the World Cup next year.
Nope, they will not, and they don't deserve it. First and foremost, I'll say that. And I think there are 2 sides to this conversation. The first side is the analytical, the breakdown of the game. Where did it go wrong? And it was so frustrating to see the lack of tactical awareness, tactical discipline, and the inability of this team to recognize specific moments in the game that calls for specific decisions. Your inability as a team to process that information on the run shows up in the worst possible way. The best example, or worst example, depending on how you look at this, is the second goal by Colombia. Venezuela is up 2-1. 42nd minute, first half. You got to see it through to halftime. so that then you're able to settle down and kind of assess where you are and where Bolivia and Brazil are, and then you start structuring what your game plan is going to be for the second half. When Venezuela gives up that goal late in the first half, and then they go into the locker room, I can tell you exactly what happened. I wasn't there. I don't have anybody inside the locker room. It's not like I have reporters in there. I don't have breaking news, but I can tell you what that was like. The first thing they're asking is, what's Bolivia doing? What's Bolivia and Brazil? And at that point, the score was Bolivia 1, Brazil nothing. And so all this pressure that you knew you were going to feel, all of it came on you as a player all at once. Because now Colombia are back in the game, because Bolivia is winning, and at that point Bolivia was advancing, Venezuela was not. Venezuela was never, within this World Cup qualifying cycle, was never able to find organization and structure. There were many examples over the course of the qualifying cycle against Paraguay, and in fact, I'll go back to Copa America against Canada. The lack of discipline and lack of awareness tactically.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir. I have plenty of answers today.
Where do you lay the blame? Is it on the coach for not being able to sort his team out and put them in a structure for situations like that? Or is the coach actually doing that, but the players aren't good enough to follow it through? Or is it both?
I think it's both. Yeah. And I was going to address that when the players look to the sidelines, if you see the Venezuelan bench, it looks like a flea market. People are running everywhere. And there is no structure over there. So if you're a player here that is struggling to figure out what is it that we need to do, and as you watch the highlights, you see that it's a team that became broken and disorganized, and they're just trying to survive the game. They're trying to go and push for things that are not there. They're trying to go and chase it, and in doing that, Colombia is just going, tack, 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 tack. We just play right through you, goal, 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 goal. And Venezuela just couldn't stop it. And if you're looking over there, and over there seems like a house on fire, they don't have the answers. You don't have the answers here, they don't have the answers over there, and what you see is a full-on meltdown. And a full-on meltdown that is brought upon by pressure. Pressure will make your body do some funny things, some weird things. And this, I saw players by Venezuela making decisions that are not only are they incorrect decisions, but are not characteristics of this specific players. Players with plenty of international experience just making silly mistakes and silly decisions. And it all has to do with the fact that the moment got all too big for Venezuela.
Manchester City, their start to the season has not really been a good one, and it's not about to get much easier after the international break. Just 3 points taken from a possible 9 so far. Next up for them is the Manchester derby. That is at home for City. Then they've got Napoli in the Champions League, and then they are at Arsenal. Don Hutchison is joining us now. Don, can Pep get his side back together and get things back on course, or are we going to see what we saw last season with City? Because we're seeing shades of it.
Yeah, evening, guys. He's got a tough job on. I think for the first time now, he's starting to look at his City squad, which is still very healthy in terms of the personnel, but not too many fit players for Pep to choose from. But you're looking, I think, at a City side where it just looks a little bit dysfunctional. We questioned some of the summer signings, which on paper look quite good, but very offensive players that he brought in. So defensively, they're still pretty weak. You're looking at a side that you think's in transition. But as the guys, Nally said before, trusting the process is all about winning games along the way. And they suffered a bad loss last week. So those 3 games coming up, especially the 2 in the Premier League, it feels like the Manchester derby has to be a must-win. And then the Arsenal game, there's always pressure on that because it's a high-level, high-intensity game. So those 3 games could tell us exactly where City might be come the end of the season.
When you look at it, though, Stevie, what do you put it down to? Because there's a lot of injuries right now. They obviously had a long season last year.
I was trying to pick a team for this game and I couldn't come up with 11. That's how bad it is on the injury front. I mean, the other side of it is that they have to look at themselves and say that defensively they haven't made any moves to make them any better. And the biggest problem they had last season, particularly when they fell off the cliff, was defensively. Yes, they signed Donnarumma, but I mean, he's going to have to be man of the match week in and week out with this back line that he's got in front of him. So, all of a sudden, this Man City-Man United game has kind of swung in United's favour. Even though it's at City. I mean, as I said, I can't put an 11 on the field. I still can't find a left back. I've got 3 in the middle, I've got 3 up front, I've got 3 at the back, and I've got Donnarumma. I don't have a left back. I've got absolutely no idea.
Look at me.
Who's going to play left back?
You look at me.
and that means that they've got nothing on the bench either. That's how badly they're suffering in this game with injuries. So I worry about City, because if they lose this game, you know, particularly Nedum and I going back and forward about how I thought City wouldn't be challenging for the Premier League, and Nedum was not having it. As early as the weekend, we could be saying, you know what, City absolutely are not going to be challenging for the Premier League. If they lose at home to Manchester United at the weekend, I'm sorry, I just don't see how they win the Premier League.
Don, is it too early to say after 4 games that they can't win the Premier League?
No. Normally, what you're saying there, Kay, and the question you're asking is relevant. It's normally the answer is, it's only 4 games in. I think because they lost the last game, and because they've got so many injuries, Stevie's right. You could be looking at a weekend where if Man United turn them over at the Etihad, that would be pretty monumental in the first place as it goes, because they're not particularly in good form and not playing well. Then the Arsenal game, if they went back-to-back defeats, 5 games in, you'd have to say, because of the strength of the opposition in Arsenal and Liverpool, you'd probably say if Man City lost against Man United and they lost against Arsenal, they can't win the league. And it feels wrong saying it because it's so early in the league. But because of the strength of the opposition, as I said before, they don't lose too many games, Arsenal and Liverpool. So Man City, if they lost those 2 games, would have to be flawless after the Arsenal game and win every single game from then till the end of the season. Well, that's just not going to happen. It's not the Man City of 3 years ago. It's not going to happen. They're going to have bumps along the way, especially with Champions League football. So the pressure's on.
Pressure on Pep.
Well, they're not going to win the Premier League, not only because of these injuries, because they were not a good team even when a lot of these players were available. They were having their issues even when they were healthy. They're not going to win the Premier League because right now they're not an elite team and they're not playing at an elite level. They're not going to win the league because they're not good enough to do so right now. Now, the injuries don't help, of course, and the absence of players don't help. But there are holes in this team that have been there for a while and have not been addressed. And as much as we'd like to think of Pep Guardiola and what he's going to be able to do with his team and a new season and a fresh start and being able to put behind whatever their struggles were last season, we're seeing a lot of the same issues. We're seeing a lot of the same concerns. We're not seeing a significantly different version of Manchester City early on this season as what we did in the middle of last season. So if you're not seeing the improvement and the players are not available and the team is not playing at a high level, it's impossible to sit here and make an argument for Manchester City challenging at the top of the Premier League, even as early as 3 games in. And if you're losing to Manchester United, who we sit here every day and criticize and analyze over and over and over again as to how poor they are, you lose to Manchester United, it is goodbye, so long, take care, thanks for coming.
Do you know one of the things as well that adds to the reason why I in particular are kind of down on City? From the start of the season to now, every time the camera goes to Pep, he looks as though he doesn't know what to do. He's got an expression on his...
He looks. He looks like when I was watching Venezuela last night. That's how he looks.
He does. He's scratching his head. He's whispering. He's shaking his head. You know, Pep of old is out there telling everybody, hey, you need to do this. This is what we're doing. You know, get up here.
So have the other teams got wise to what they do and know how to deal with them now?
I don't think that... I think teams know what City are about. The problem is they cannot play at the level they used to. And because they haven't fixed anything defensively, teams know that if they just don't give anything away, don't panic, keep the ball in front of you, because they're not particularly great right now either of cutting teams up, then you're going to get a chance. And so that changes, it changes your whole mentality as the opposition, whether you're at home or away, that against this so-called old, magnificent Man City, we can beat this lot. That's a totally different mentality than going there 2 and 3 years ago, as Don's talking about, and you're thinking, wow, are we going to get in today?
For me, the answer is as simple as Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva, Ilkay Gundogan at his best, Rodri, okay, all right, who's around now? But so it's not Kevin De Bruyne at his best, it's Rico Lewis. Okay, as good a player and serviceable as he may be, not the same level. Not the same level. And so we've seen a dip in terms of the level of talent in this team in key positions. And for this team, key positions is the midfield. And if they don't dominate the possession of the ball with their quality of possession, with the way they control the game, the pace and the rhythm of matches, if they're unable to do that, they can't defend either. And so what do they hang their hat on? These are answers that these are questions that are yet to be answered by Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. And seeing what we're seeing, and based upon the evidence that we are seeing, not what they were, but what we're seeing right now, it's impossible, as I said before, to stand here, sit here, and make an argument and say, oh no, this team is back. Oh no, they're not back. They're in trouble.
When it comes to the derbies as well, Don, Manchester United have actually won 2 of the last 3 Manchester derbies. What's your prediction for the next one?
Well, I think we've not even talked Donnarumma. I'm still going to hang my hat on a City win, only just, even though there's lots of negativity because the Etihad, I think that atmosphere might just drive them over. And as Ali said, they're playing against a Man United side that are not particularly great neither, even though it feels a little bit of a feel-good factor story over at Old Trafford, but there's still plenty leaks in their midfield and their defence. So I'm going to hang my hat on a City win. But I can remember being at Fulham about 2 or 3 years ago, and I can remember being in the comms booth, top of the stand, and Man City walked out all in black socks, black pants, black top, and they looked like champions. They were going to be champions. They looked invincible. There was something about them, the way they looked, and as Ali said, they mentioned the players that all walked out on the pitch, and I just sat there and I thought, they just looked like a proper team. That's why I was pretty down when I was over there in the summer, and all the signings were coming through the door like Reinders and Cherki and Aït-Nouri, and they're all good players, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't what Man City needed. You know, they needed a right back. They sold Kyle Walker, or he was on loan at Milan, now at Burnley, but they needed a right back. They needed a defender or a holding midfield player. Nico Gonzalez is not really that type of player who's not really had an impact. So when you look at what Man City are, is they're still technically a very good side, but now they're a little bit slower. Now they're either too adventurous at times because Aït-Nouri's a wing back, he's not a defender. So if you're trying to get a plan the night before or the days before on how to play against Man City, you play against them like Liverpool did last season twice when they buried them at Anfield. Could have been a big scoreline. I think it was 2, but it felt like 4 or 5. And they'd done them 2 at the Etihad because they ran and trampled all over them. So the game plan is when you play against Man City, make sure you run all over them and you trample all over them. Obviously, you've got to have the quality to beat them. But the Donnarumma now is the elephant in the room. What is he going to be like? Because he's totally different to what Pep Guardiola's always wanted his goalkeeper. He's had Edison, who's been the best goalkeeper and the best footballing goalkeeper for a long, long time. Now he's got someone who's a brilliant shot stopper and a wingspan of, like ridiculous and saved PSG in the Champions League. But with the ball at his feet, everyone now around the world is going to be asking, what's Donnarumma going to be doing with the ball at his feet? Is Guardiola going to be changing his style? Because he has to. He can't ask him to play out from the back anymore. It's not his game. So that's going to be very interesting how that develops.
But even with all that being said, Don still thinks Man City have got this one in the bag just, OK?
But then there's casualties. There's casualties at right back in Frimpong. There's casualties in McAllister in midfield. There's going to be some big-name players on the bench, and it's exactly what Liverpool fans and Arne Slot would want. Competition for places, and then you look and then you figure out when is it going to be? Because I don't think, and the boys might agree or disagree, but I don't think Liverpool now have got a starting 11, a stronger starting 11, because every single week, as I said before, there's going to be someone in the side or out the side. And these are big-name players like McAllister, as I said, not even mentioned Cody Gakpo, who you would have thought, and he'll start at the weekend against Burnley, guaranteed. He's now got a fight on if I think Florian Wirtz might have to be shoehorned in to play on the left-hand side. So Liverpool's bench this season is going to be unbelievably stacked.
You like what you heard there from Ekitike, though, Stevie, saying the right things.
Do you know what? That was absolutely perfect. I mean, if he'd come up with that on his own, this kid's got his. This kid's got.
What are you saying, Stevie?
Give him some credit, Stevie.
It was just the perfect answer. What a fantastic answer. Because you know the question had bait written all over it for him to say the wrong thing, but he was absolutely perfect. I must admit, I want to see that team. That's a drastic change from what Liverpool do now. Mo Salah playing wide on a 4.
Because Don's been asked when all are fit or available how it could look.
I don't see that big a change. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I see 3 and I see 3. 4-3-3. I don't see them going 4-4-2. I don't think they've got the personnel.
That could take you off the left, Stevie.
That team.
Could take you off the left.
Yeah, he could do that, yeah. But then where's Wirtz play? You know, to your point about there's going to be a lot of changes all the time. But I just don't see the change in formation, Don. I think you'll see changes in personnel week to week. I just don't see them going to a 4-4-2. It doesn't make any sense to me, that.
I agree, mate. I mean, listen, I had 3 formations with, you know, completely different players playing a 4-3-3, and there was going to be a casualty somewhere. My first team didn't even have Florian Wirtz in it, and I was like, what have I done there? That can't be right. So it's like, good luck on a slot picking 11.
So we asked Don for one job and one job only, to give us his team, and he agrees that he made a mistake with the formation. What?
No, I didn't. That's still the strongest team. Because Ali, I had to get Ekitike in. I had to get Isak in. I had to get Wirtz in. I had to try and chew on Salah in. I had to try and get Szoboszlai in. I was like, that's the best I can do.
Well, the best.
Ali's not thinking that way.
No. The best you did, Don, wasn't good enough. I'll tell you, because that midfield is light in numbers. Oof. That midfield needs another player who can give you a box-to-box presence or can give you quality of possession through the midfield.
Who are you dropping?
Hey, no, you're the one that was given the homework.
Gakpo?
You're
just asking the question.
You already dropped Gakpo. Gakpo's not on your team. You already dropped him.
I know, but what are you saying?
I don't know. He dropped Gakpo. Gakpo's not on that team, right?
Correct.
So why is he asking about Gakpo?
Yeah.
No. I'm saying what you saying. How'd you pick an 11? It's not even impossible.
Well, you're not dropping Salah. We know that.
Yep.
But he's not going to play as a right midfielder. That's not happening.
Not happening.
No. So he's going to be on the right side of the attack. You got to make the choice as to who plays in the middle for you, whether that's Isak or Ekitike, and then you play Wirtz on the left-hand side. It's either Isak or Ekitike. It's not both.
Yeah.
And then you find balance in the midfield. You can't just sacrifice the midfield because you have to. This is looking like the best 11 when they come with the best 11 team in Europe and it has like 7 strikers on it because they couldn't make up their minds. Yeah. At some point, you got to find realistic balance in this group. You got to find a third midfielder.
Okay. Well, everybody has put Florian Wirtz in, though, at the moment. We've talked a lot about him on the show so far already. Don, what have you made of him so far for Liverpool?
Okay, he's only 22. I mean, he's come from Eintracht and arguably their best player. Now all of a sudden he's coming to Liverpool.
No, we're talking about Florian Wirtz.
Sorry, Leverkusen.
Yeah.
Sorry, Leverkusen. And he's got into Liverpool and he's not their best player anymore. So he's only 22. The 3 games that he's played, I mean, 2 really high-intensity games in Newcastle at St James's, then the Arsenal game. Hard to try and shine in them sort of games. People say, well, you should. Because, you know, you cost £140 million and you've, you know, one of the record signings. It's tough for a kid when you go to a brand new team and you've got to try and be the top man. That will come. He's going to need a little bit of time. He was okay. Actually, I read the article, by the way, in you know, that they done him down on against Northern Ireland. I actually thought he played quite well in the game. He scored a brilliant free kick, but actually I thought in his general play, I actually thought he looked quite impressive. Now, what he's got to try and get away from at Liverpool is he's got to try and do the things that he was doing when he was confident at Leverkusen. He's got to try and feel as though in himself he's the top man, which is impossible to do when you sign for Liverpool and you're 22 and you see Salah and Van Dijk and Gravenberch and Alisson, all the superstar players. But somehow when you get that foot in the door, you've got to try and express and bring the things that you were brilliant at Leverkusen and being the top man and showing your skills and showing your tricks. He's still working hard enough, but I think the 3 games that he's played, There's so much more to come from him. And as I said, the Newcastle and Arsenal game, they're difficult games to shine in.
Yeah.
The problem he's got is because of Isak coming in, because of Ekitike coming in, because how good Gakpo's been, you can't drop Salah. Now, had Liverpool not had such a big squad, you could just say to this guy, look, 10, 11, 12 games, just forget about it. You're playing first 10 games. But because of the squad they have, I'm not so sure Arne Slot can do that. That 10 or 12 games maybe gets cut in half because of the quality you've got. Because if you can't carry if you want to win the Premier League, you can't carry passengers. And right now, Florian Wirtz, unfortunately, is a bit of a passenger because he's not contributing any side of the ball. So.
Because Uli Hoeness, the honorary Bayern president, has always got quite a bit to say, and this is what he'd had to say on Sunday about Nicholas Jackson. He said, if anyone's upset about this loan fee, it's not €16.5 million because the player and his agent paid €3 million. That means the player costs €13.5 million, and that's not a problem at all, because if I buy a player for €80 million, it also costs €16 million in depreciation per year, so it's €13 million.
Say that again.
The big money only has to be paid if he starts 40 games. He never does that. So that was on Sunday, and then today he's come back and said this. What annoyed me a lot is the stupidity of some journalists. They interpreted my words as if I had something against Jackson. We still have 32 Bundesliga games. If we reach the Champions League final, which we hope we will, that adds 13 games. The total is 45 games. The Pokal games do not count, so he would have to start all these games. He will go to the African Cup in January, so he can't start 40 games. That's what I said. See, Ali, it's just bad interpretation by all those journalists.
That's because that's not what he said. There's been blowback, there's been pushback, there's been somebody who has gone to him and said, Uli, the guy just walked through the door. We can't tell him that he's not going to play. We can't tell him that he's here basically because he paid his way to be here. We can't tell him that we're not excited about him being here. And so then Uli Hoeness just kind of goes and, fine, I'll say something and try to explain as to why I said what I said. Truth be told, he should not have said anything about anything. Nobody's asking explanations as to why this deal is structured like this or why this deal is structured like that. And if anybody's asking specifically why that's the case, you just have a general answer. We're excited to have Nico Jackson in this team. We think that he's going to help us this season. It's going to be a long season. There will be moments in which we'll need his contributions to Bayern Munich, and we're proud that he's now a Bayern Munich player. That's it! That's all you have to say. You don't have to go into this whole explanation as to that exposes Nico Jackson, a guy who just walked through the door. So this is on Uli Hoeness, not on the stupidity of the journalists.
But then it wouldn't be FC Hollywood, Don.
I mean, Ali's nailed it there. I mean, he shouldn't have said anything. He should be saying what a credit the player is. What a brilliant player and what a brilliant agent by paying £3 million to join us. We're lucky to have him. And then he's gone on about the depreciation, this, that and the other, which lost me, I've got to say, that lost me. But if it's £13.5 million for a loan for Nicholas Jackson, that's a very good and reasonable amount. The problem is, if they sign him and the transfer fee is going to be about £80 million, all of a sudden you go, that is an awful lot of money for what I think, unless he really, really improves this season, for a guy that I don't think is the top quality number 9, by spending £80 million on him, that's a big ask for him. But I think you have to credit, and that's what Uli Hoeness should have done. He should have credited the agent and the player for wanting to sign for Bayern.
Yeah, talk about this and all the top leagues in Europe, as always, will be available on the Gav and Jules podcast. That drops on Mondays and Thursdays. Be sure to check it out every single week, wherever you get your podcasts.
What do you have against Spain, by the way?
At least
nothing against Spain.
At least sounds as though you mean it.
That's it for the latest edition of ESPN FC.
No.
Be sure to
That's not it. That's not it. That's not it.
Oh, no.
It's somebody's birthday, and she wore red. She wore red for her birthday. It matches the cake and all. Oh, man. Happy birthday cake.
Oh, this is so nice. Thank you so much. Look
yeah.
at this. I've never had a cake
Put it in the
here.
middle. Can you reach it?
Yeah.
Hey, I tell you why we could not make Spain the first goal. We're too busy getting your cake.
Look, we've got red for Borough.
Oh, what? Is that why you're wearing red today?
Absolutely.
You want some?
Yeah.
Come on then.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
What you do? Oh, Steve, what are you going to do with that? Oh, no.
Sorry.
Oh, I don't know if I want this cake anymore.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, that
Thank
is-
you so much.
Oh, look at you.
I love my birthday.
Well,
No
gonna
place I'd
be a
rather be on it.
disaster.
You want me to
All
cut you a
right,
piece?
stick around extra time's on the way. I don't want a piece of that bit where
There
you
you
make
go.
the guys think that
That's yours. Right, Ali, this is ours. Right, Ali, this is ours.
Stick around extra time's coming up next.
nice
Birthday
cake.
edition.
all right.
Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Stevie is using plastic utensils to cut a birthday cake when we have a perfect one there.
Ali.
What did I do?
Ali, how have you not got the back of Stevie's head there straight into the cake? You've missed a trick there.
No,
Can't
no.
even reach it with my hand. How's he going to get it
That's
in
my
my
cake,
face?
Don.
First of all, we're talking about an elderly
Yeah, you
man.
still would have chuckled okay.
Steady.
True.
Just because you get knocked out of the World Cup and had a snigger.
We're talking about a man who may not be able to get up if I put him in the cake.
All right, okay.
How's he in
Wrong,
charge?
unfortunately.
How's he in charge of
Of the
this?
cake cutting.
Well,
How
it's
is he
not-
in
it's
charge
not-
of this?
Straight away,
I
didn't
wish
he?
that people were able to see my angle here, and it's not pretty, but I guess it's effective.
Tell you what, it looks a nice cake.
It does look a lovely cake. Thank you so much, everybody.
Oh,
Don's with us to answer the question. That's your piece, Stevie.
Happy birthday,
hey!
Thank you very much.
You want a piece?
Yeah, of course I do.
I don't
Got to have a piece of my own birthday cake.
Okay, all right.
All right, that first question. Happy birthday, Kay. What's your favourite personal moment in football, and what do you remember about meeting Stevie, Ale and Don for the first time?
Okay.
Okay, my favourite personal moment in football is Middlesbrough winning their only cup in their history, 120
Cool, you got a good
years.
memory.
I was there in Cardiff. for it.
Hey! Oh man, hey, I got to be honest with you, Stevie. The oddmakers did not see that as a
Never smelled
successful
a drop.
endeavor.
My
Oops,
goodness,
that for that,
Stevie.
That is a big percentage you've got there, Kay. That's a big
Yeah,
percentage.
It is right. Okay, it's my birthday. I'll go for it. Do I remember meeting Stevie, Ali and Don for the first time? Stevie was on Zoom because it was during COVID.
Oh.
And so we did some digital hits together.
All right.
So yes, I do. It was a memorable moment. Ale was actually on pretty much my screen test for ESPN.
Oh, there I was.
Well, I got sent to Atlanta to do the Campeones Cup with Ale and Herc.
Yeah, so with me basically.
And so, yeah, that sealed the deal.
Well, you've done well to survive that.
Man, I thought it was a team that worked really well together.
We worked fantastic together, and it's been the same ever since.
Yeah.
And then Don, we've had this conversation before. I often wonder.
Self-adulation is no adulation.
I often wondered, Don, if you were at the PFA Awards years ago with all your Sunderland team, and that
I was.
we were all out one
I
night, and I
was.
remember seeing the Sunderland players out, and I still think Don Hutchison was
Oh.
one of them. Back
Yeah.
in his
I think
Black Cats
I
days.
think so. It's a bit of a blur
It's a
because it was an all-dayer.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a blur.
Why is that, Don? You were just tired? It's been a long day.
Shirley Temples.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so,
And
so
Covent
yeah.
Garden.
Too much cake.
Much more memorable with these two than with Don.
Yeah.
We can't quite work out when it was. Is this the worst Manchester derby ever? Which manager is facing more pressure to get a result? Which manager will set lower expectations of getting a result more pre-match? Who are the actual underdogs? You can answer that, Don.
Yeah, because we're all eating.
Who's under pressure?
You want a bit?
Yeah, you crack on. Yeah, you crack on.
We'll save you a bit.
It depends on the scoreline. So if Man U go there and beat Man City 1-0, it puts Pep under pressure. But if Man City turn Man United over by 4 or 5, it massively puts Amorim under pressure. Because that's a scoreline that cannot happen in this fixture.
But the
Off
question
back
is
of losing
going
against Grimsby,
into the
only
match.
just winning.
Going into the match, Don, who's under more pressure?
Well, going into the match, it's pretty irrelevant because the context is the result. The context is not going into it. The context is not the performance. this game's all about the end game, which is the result. So
Well, if Man United get in from the
I think
game,
Pep's under more pressure.
if Man United get in from the game,
I
it's a
think Pep's
bonus.
under more pressure.
Nobody expects them to get in for the game.
Okay, Don.
Yeah, hang on, you had them winning. Hang on, didn't Stevie have them winning?
What's that got to do with it?
I mean, studio.
I'm just saying.
Studio didn't have
Well,
to
you
give
just
a
said no one
prediction.
We didn't give
You
our
just-
predictions because
Well,
they're
no,
going
no.
to be back on before it.
But Stevie's just said there, no one expects Man United to get anything from the game, but he's got them to win.
He hasn't given a
So he
prediction
does.
yet.
He hasn't
I'm
given
going to
his
give a prediction.
Don, go.
right.
Hey,
Let you
Don,
off then.
go do a
Let you off.
starting 11
Yeah.
for Liverpool, please.
Yeah.
He suddenly went back to EFA.
Hold on.
I'll tell you what I will do.
Don,
Give me another crack at it. I'll come up with
Okay.
another system.
Don, or should I say Donatello? Who has the better odds of topping their group, Italy or Scotland?
Scotland, Kay. Scotland. Italy. Don't know if you've seen that mad
believe
result
you've
the other
turned
day.
your
They
back
beat
on
Israel
Italy.
5-4. Well, they're 6 points behind Norway, who battered someone about 25-0 the other day.
Moldova.
And Haaland scored 5. So Italy are 6 points behind. Yeah. And Scotland are joint top with Denmark. So probability says Scotland.
Yep.
Because they drew with Denmark away. Yeah, go on the Scots. 4's on Scotland.
Yes, he is a Scotsman.
Yep.
Ale, how much do you despise Brazil?
I don't put this on Brazil. We should not have put ourselves in a position in which we're depending on somebody else to get a result for us. Now, it would have been rather helpful if Brazil were able to get at least a draw against Bolivia, but admittedly so, going to altitude is never easy. I'm not going to put this on Brazil. Could have been a better performance from Brazil, but we have had the conversation time and time again that this is not exactly the best version of Brazil. So if you're going to get mad at Brazil, it's not for this version of Brazil.
Yep.
It's not. Some people may look at this as a huge surprise that Brazil loses to Bolivia, and as disappointing as it may be for me, seeing what Brazil has been in this World Cup qualifying cycle, and I don't think anybody's really truly surprised that this happened. I'm just annoyed with Venezuela, which is different.
Well, let me stay with you on annoyance from some fans, Ale. Is Carlo doing his old club a favour by playing Rafinha but resting the Madrid boys?
Well, I assume that when you have the connection that Carlo Ancelotti has with Real Madrid, it's easy to make that assumption. I have to believe that Carlo Ancelotti is making the decisions that he thinks are best for his current team, Brazil. And he is proven to have been first-class professional in the managerial position. And so I have to trust, as I have in the past, the judgment of Carlo Ancelotti when he was with Real Madrid. I'll trust his judgment with Brazil and figuring out what is best for his current job and his current team. That's his current responsibility, not Real Madrid, and not the health and fitness of Real Madrid. But you're okay over here? It is hard to give a credible answer and a serious answer when you're fumbling with the cake.
That was close to being that.
That could have
mean,
been on your suit.
It's evaporated on his plate, to be fair.
The question is, are you three putting in an invoice for this show? Because all it is eating cake and chatting footy. What a show.
Well, we're trying to make you do most of the talking.
That's true. Okay, so here you go.
And he has failed miserably doing it.
Actually,
So.
save that bite, Steve, because the next one's for you.
Oh.
Ancelotti criticised the ball boys for wasting time in yesterday's match. Did you ever get angry with ball boys for time wasting when you were a manager? Was there a road stadium that was notorious for having ball boys that would time waste?
No, but I did actually apologise to a ball boy when I was coaching in the USL for the Bulldogs. We were playing Rochester Rhinos in Rochester, and it's the biggest game of the season. And the ball's gone out, and it's gone into the crowd, and as it goes out and it's on its way, the ball boy throws the ball to one of their players, and he throws it quickly, and they almost scored. And I snapped at the wee boy, at the ball boy. And then about a second later, I was like, he's only doing his job. So I got up and went over and said sorry to him, and he was fine. I felt rotten.
You know,
I felt awful going across because I was like, can't believe I did that.
I imagine it's the same over in the UK and Europe for that matter, but there is a real cultural difference between ball boy behavior here in the United States as compared to where I come from, Venezuela, and then South America as a whole. When you are winning and it's late in matches, and you're in South America, your own ball boys disappear. You cannot find a ball boy. They're nowhere to be found. Conversely, if you're trailing, they cannot get the ball back in quicker. I mean, these guys are on it. And usually, these are either players that come from the youth national team or from youth teams and local teams in South America. And so they are very aware of what the game calls for. The ball boys here in the United States in Major League Soccer, a little inside look. These are positions that are given to teams that buy a certain allotment of tickets to go to the game. So there are local kids from local youth teams that are just happy. They're like, hey, we're coming to the game, and our parents are over there, and they're like, hey, that's my dad over there, that's my mom over there, whatever. And so they have no real sense for the game. They're like, okay, well, I guess we're rooting for my team, but if the other team needs the ball real quick, I'll give them the ball. And it's so frustrating because you want to go to them and say, no, right now, we do not need to be quick with the ball. But I can understand that there's a cultural difference in how you approach the game. Back home, much different than it is here.
I love it that you kind of secretly probably respected it.
What?
The little ball boy doing his job properly.
I wasn't asleep. I was thinking about having another bit of cake.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I don't need my kids running up the walls after eating all of that.
Right,
Okay.
I'll show a bit of discipline.
I'll show a bit of discipline now I've eaten a third of it.
Yeah.
Your piece was rather large, Stevie, I must say.
I thought I deserved it, to be honest with you.
You put a lot of hard work in today, I get it.
Ale, shouldn't Arteta be sacked if he doesn't deliver any trophies this season? It's impossible he keeps his job if Arsenal ends up trophyless again.
See, this is when you as an organization, you have to make a decision as to what you want and what your ambitions are. If you're having a team that is as competitive as we expect Arsenal to be over the course of the season, and not only in Premier League competition, but as well in Champions League and cup competitions, and you're thinking, well, the expectation is to win it. So what do you give value to? You win an FA Cup over being competitive across all competitions? Is that more important? That you're pushing Liverpool to the brink over the course of the whole long season? It's more important that you win an FA Cup over doing that? I think Mikel Arteta has done a really good job with Arsenal. But the whole trajectory of Arsenal leads to one thing and one thing only: the expectation of winning the Premier League. And if you come up short, then that's when I imagine the decision makers for Arsenal said, maybe we need somebody else to take us to that next level. He's taken us as far as he's going to take us. Maybe there's somebody else that can take us even further.
Okay. Don, do you still hate hot cheese?
Yeah, depends what it's on. Can't stand it on a burger. Pizza, fine, but never on a burger.
What about a toasty?
No. No.
But that's just the
It's
same
hot
as
cheese,
pizza,
Stevie.
isn't
It's a
it?
difference, aye.
Yeah, but a pizza's got a bit of mushroom and a bit of spice and a bit of, pepperami and chorizo on there or whatever
them
you
in
like.
your
but
toasty as well.
I can get by on a pizza. Nah, it's not my thing, Stevie. Cold cheese, fine.
Wait a minute.
Cheese platter.
Okay,
beautiful.
I got a question then. If you have a burger, right? And then you just grab a slice of cold cheese out of the refrigerator and you put it in the burger, you're fine with that?
Well, no, because that's hot cheese. It's going to warm up, innit?
Well, if you leave the cheese out in a cheese
gonna
plate,
melt.
hold on. If you leave the cheese out on a cheese plate over the course of a get-together, that cheese gets hot too.
No. Come on. If you've got a nice
Melted
cheese
cheese,
platter and a few biscuits and a few crackers, you can make a lovely few crackers with like nice bit of butter and a bit of cheese on with a cup of tea, and you go, yeah, that's nice. But like putting cheese on a burger, that's too much. Too much.
Yeah, so the answer is yes, he still hates hot cheese on meat, it would appear. All right, thank you so much for sending in your questions.
Yeah, well, hold on. Can we
Say, swing it
actually,
around.
yeah, give the other look. The other look is, I think.
I didn't know where the shark is.
Where am I going? This way.
Over that way. I didn't know where the shark Spin it around that way.
Spin it. There it is.
Tell you what, that's a shark bite.
What a chunk.
And there it is. And there it is.
A big appetite, haven't you, Stevie?
Oh, it's a crime scene is what
Healthy
it is.
By the way, you haven't left any yourself.
What? I know, but mine was respectable size.
Yeah, right. The same as mine.
Thank you for my cake. Thank you very much.
Oh, happy birthday,
welcome.
Kay.